Well, certainly excited that today's here and in earnest begin preparation and start of a season. And I really appreciate and enjoyed what this group has done to this point, and now we change gears and getting ready to play. And certainly there's a ton of work that goes into playing these games, and so excited to finishing out the preparation and then going down and playing South Florida. And it's anytime you play a first game, you go back and you try to study as much as you can about the opponent, and certainly you see some things, but that there's going to be things that you're not necessarily fully prepared for. But the things we do know is got a ton of respect for their coaching staff and Charlie and their group, and you watch the tape and you see the players that they got coming back, and it's a talented team, and so we need to do a good job of learning as much as we can. But I think the game and particularly first games are as much about yourself and your preparation and knowing that you're going to have to make adjustments throughout the game. But like what this group has done so far, but need to have a good week of preparation before we head down there.
Jesse.
Paul, what did Jack Cohn show you during camp specifically that makes you confident in him? And what areas did you notice in those practices where he took steps forward?
Yeah, I thought, I thought he improved in a lot of the different, from his, understanding certainly of what we're doing, his command of kind of the offense, his drop footwork, kind of thought he made some strides there, and I thought the whole group actually had a really good camp, and those of you who were there, you knew that Jack, every rep he got this camp was with the ones, and yet I thought he did do a good job of he's got a better understanding, I think, of himself, of our offense, of what teams are doing, and I like the progress he's made, and I do. I think that group as a whole had a good camp.
Paul, I know you'd like to be more balanced offensively, and that means being more efficient in the passing game. Did you see what you wanted to during camp in that area that gives you some confidence heading this season? Yeah, certainly have confidence in that, and there's no doubt that we've got to be more balanced, and I think like anything, you got to earn the right to be more balanced. You've got to produce there, and I like the group, that has to absorb some of that, and then when I'm talking about the receivers and the tight ends and the backs and certainly the quarterbacks, but I think for us to be the best offense we can be, we absolutely have to be more balanced, and I think the pieces are there, and yet you got to go out and do it when it matters, and we haven't done that yet.
Paul, as you evaluate the defense as a whole, other than just being healthy, which is something that didn't happen last year, where do you feel like this group can take the next step this year? What areas do you feel you addressed during camp with the group as a whole?
I think that certainly, you talked about it, if that group can stay healthy and then, where they can progress, you still have, I think they have to learn to play together and play off of each other. And, for instance, I love, I thought Isaiah Green-May had a really good camp, but now he's got to go do it. Hasn't done that yet. Same thing with Jack Sanborn and when Leo Chanel gets his reps, and the same could be said in the back end. So I think it's just, the opportunity to put it all together and to play good team defense. And that's, that also is going to involve, who are the guys that are going to be that step up and make those plays in the moments where you need them, and that we feel good. We think we may know who it is, but you've got to go do it against an opponent, and that's, I think, talk about that with defense, with offense. It's our team. That's what's fun about the season, is that like the foundation that's been laid, but now we get to and have to go do it against an opponent.
Jeff.
Paul, obviously you had some injury problems in camp at tight end. Now that Ferguson's back, I'm just curious where the other guys stand. Like, where does What can Eschenbach give you at this point in his development? And in terms of Xander, how close is he to even practicing yet if he started?
Yeah, Xander's, he's been making good progress. And I think, later this week, he'll go through a thing and it's been cleared to do limited, but to where he's fully cleared, that'll be in the next couple days. And, Eschenbach, I think, I give him credit that he took advantage of all the reps that he did get. And I think that there are certainly some areas where, if need be, he can help us. And so, that group, I thought, did a good job of trying to maximize what they have. But it's, Z, getting him back where he's cleared, that would be a good step. And then, kind of just see where he's at football shape-wise. But he's been able to do a lot of the stuff and get going. So to get fully cleared, we'll see.
Coach, with Quintez listed on the 2 deep, how much time do you feel like he may end up seeing this Friday?
That's where I think, again, we still need to use this week. And yet, I think how he's come in and the way he's picked it up, it's been good. And we're glad to obviously have him back. And certainly there's some things that I think kind of come back. And then there's some, just getting into playing shape and going. I think he's in good shape, but you got to get into playing shape. So we'll see how this week goes, but certainly feel like he can give us something.
So he may not play.
I don't. Yeah.
Brian's depth chart has two backup quarterbacks listed. How did you arrive at that, I guess?
Because
What do you see in those two guys?
Yeah, I think. Like I said earlier, I do really like the way they've had camp, and I think that, both have gotten a lot better since spring ball, and, I think that, they have a different, I think Chase, their styles are a little bit different, and yet I think they're both kind of figuring out as much who they are and how they can play to their strengths within our offense, and so I like that, and like you said, Brian did a good job of putting that together. And you're right, because depth charts are tricky because they're really, we certainly have a rep chart, and yet, there's a good chance probably on that there's 4 DBs is listed as starters, and yet, anticipate personnel grouping will probably start with 5 DBs or more. So it's you just kind of go with it. But I love, and what Chase and Graham have done, and they've got to keep going and they've got to keep growing. But I like where they're at.
Paul, this may be tough to answer because South Florida has a new offensive coordinator, but they do have a returning starting quarterback. From what you've seen of them, what challenges do you anticipate that offense posing for your group?
Yeah, I think that the quarterbacks, he's played and has played well, and so I think anytime you've got an experienced quarterback, that's good. It looks to me like they've got a number of different skilled athletes that can be dangerous and know a little bit about Kerwin and what he's done, and he's a good football coach, and so it's going to be a good plan, and the same thing defensively. They're going to have a good plan. I think they've got good players, so we don't know exactly, and I think they've got the ability to kind of mix and match different personnel groups, and we've got to match that accordingly, and then play good sound football. And that's first games are always interesting because there's an excitement to them, and there's guys that will be playing their first reps, and even guys that have started before, getting back into it, and so we've got to do a good job of handling that, and obviously the opponent.
Brian.
Paul, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but do you see the confidence level in Jack improve from a year ago? Is he reading things better, throwing the ball better, anticipating things better?
I do, and I think that's there's some that's kind of natural. I think I think a big part of it is he's trusting the work that he's put in, and then there's also the more you play with guys, and you develop trust in them, and I think that helps. In Jack's case, quarterback, when he knows AJ and trusts AJ in this and knows KP, and it's been fun. He worked obviously with Q before, but doing that more, and he's certainly got a good feel for Danny and Ferg. So I think that's also a big part of it. That not only does he trust himself, and I think you trust yourself from the work you put in, but it's also knowing what the other guys and what they've done together. That's helpful.
Tom?
Paul, playing on the road in your opener and against a team that has some pretty good skill and talent is
Right.
not your traditional opener. Do you like how did this game come about, first of all, but secondly, do you like that kind of test right out of the gate?
I do, and I don't know that I know how it came about, but I do like it, and you're going to choose to like it, and I think our guys are fired up to doing it, playing it and playing a good team, and you are going to find out every first game. You're going to find out a lot about yourself. You're going to get tested in ways that maybe you could anticipate and don't anticipate, and I think always, a chance to go on the road, and when you're playing against a good football team, the older players that have been in it know this is how you got to approach it, and you can already feel it and hear it, and we're all trying to make sure that the young guys know exactly what it is, but I think it's certainly looking forward to it.
Tammy?
Paul, how has the competitive dynamic between the Chanel brothers impacted their units and the team? It seems like they've been put in some situations during camp and practice where they've gone up against each other. Does that impact their units and the team?
Yeah, I mean, every day those two truly compete. In the weight room, they'll compete against each other. If they're on their last set and the one just did it, there's times when you can just see them put a 2.5 on either side just to outdo each other. And I think that, competition, healthy competition is great for a team. And I think those two embody it a lot. And so, we feel really fortunate to have both of them here. And there's no doubt that it rubs off on the rest of the team in a positive way.
Back?
Coach, who or what, whether individually or a position group, has impressed you the most throughout camp up until this point?
There's certainly, a lot of guys, I've been impressed. It's a little bit hard for me to answer. I can go down each one what I've appreciated from them and has been impressive. You could take Chryst Orr, Tyler Biotich, and Jonathan, and how they've approached it. Guys that, we expect a lot. They expect a lot of themselves, but that's been impressive to see how they go about it. It's been impressive to see, a younger guys like Nakia Watson or Reggie Pearson kind of take that next step and playing with confidence. You're excited to see guys that have been around and playing, but now feeling more confident with their role and what they're doing. So you can truly go down the whole list, and I won't, but you could.
Paul, Caden Lyles is listed as the backup guard at both spots. What growth did you see from him in camp and making this transition back? And would you anticipate that there would be potentially a three-man rotation there at guard, given what he can provide?
Yeah, I think that, certainly inside, Caden, first of all, Caden's, I think it took him spring just to get back into the rhythm of it, and had a good summer, and it's been fun to see him kind of truly getting back into the groove of playing O-line, and we feel like he's certainly got some talent and really talented, and yet you got to play, and you got to play with each other, and we do anticipate, a lot of those linemen playing, and I think that we're going to need it. I think that, the first thing is, do they earn the right to play? And if they've earned the right to play, then you find the spots, and I think that we've got guys in that room, in those positions that have earned the right to play, and people will see them.
Jeff?
Paul, obviously, external expectations for this team are different than where they were a year ago, but I'm just curious if you can reflect back to what you thought about you had as a team at the beginning of last year and compare it to where you think this team can be this year. Any differences, similarities in your feeling and your knowledge of what type of team you can put on the field?
Well, I think certainly, at the beginning of a season, you're always, I think for me personally, there's there's always two things, you know, that it's our goal, it's our job to, how do you help this team become the best team it could be? And, you know, and then you have positive thoughts of what that best could be. And yet the beauty of the season is you get to and have to go do it each day. And certainly you're going to kind of be judged upon, you know, the game days. And I like this group a lot. And I like how they approach it. I think it's a team that cares about each other. I think a team that likes playing the game. I think that we've got enough talent to do some things, and yet I also know that we need to grow, and we need to keep improving in so many different areas, and yet I think that, you know, they're in a good spot as far as being ready for a first game, and then, you know, you play that and they'll compete, and they'll, like I said, that I do like this group, and yet you know, there's also that I want to see, and we all want to see, you know, and learn more about who we are.
Back.
Going off of that, have you noticed a difference in the locker room and the way they approach practice or the season?
You know, I notice how they do it here, and it's hard for me to compare year to year with a group. I know I like this group, and I appreciate what they've been doing, and I think they do value each day, and I think they value and try to make the most out of each day, and that you're thankful for. And it is not, you know, there's not like a lot of these same people were here last year. They haven't morphed into someone different. I like this group.
Paul, the Rand Loudermilk pairing at defensive end never materialized last year because of injuries,
Right.
and I know you kind of kept a close eye on their reps during camp this year. Do you know what you have there, and is that does that have a potential to be a pretty dynamic pairing?
I think it does have. I'm excited about what it could be. And do we know it? No. You know, and then you add, you know, I think we've built up some depth. I appreciate like what, you know, Henny's done, and Pfaff and Bryson's had a good camp, and Keanu's done a nice job. You know, it's going to take all of them, but I am excited to see. I think we got a picture in our mind what it could be, but I think you know, be able to go out and see it, and to be able to do it over the course of time. I think that'll be one of the stories of the year, really. You know, how does that turn out to be?